Let me ask you something. What if the very thing you've been blaming for your exhaustion, stress, is actually the fastest way to create more energy? And right now, the only reason you feel drained is because you're using stress in the wrong way. See, most men lose around 20 to 40% of their peak daily energy by their mid-30s. And it's not because of age, it's because their stress engine has gone completely out of rhythm. But today we're fixing that. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how stress should work in your body, why the modern executive lifestyle hijacks it, and how to turn stress into clean, predictable, usable energy on command. Now, a bit about me. My name is Sri-Ramesh. I'm an executive health and performance coach to executives, founders, and business owners. And I help them elevate and optimize their health. So today, what we're going to be diving into is firstly the real biology behind stress and why your energy system is crashing. Then how the always-on lifestyle shoves that system completely off track. And after that, I'm going to be giving you the 3-step stress protocol to reset your energy. Then we're going to be talking about the metrics that actually matter, that will help you manage and measure stress levels. And then finally, we're going to be looking at a somewhat counterintuitive insight into how we can use stress to help absorb, learn information faster, but also perform better. And I'm pretty sure it's something you might have never heard before also. So let's get straight into it. The issue is we've been conditioned to see stress as a problem. Instinctively, when you hear the word stress, we think of it quite negatively, has many negative connotations. But I want you to look at this through a different paradigm where it's an engine as opposed to a negative thing. We've been conditioned to see it as this big bad monster that ruins your sleep, drains your energy, and wrecks your day. But biologically, it's designed to wake you up, give you more focus, and give you energy. Cortisol is what we typically refer to as stress. I mean, cortisol is the hormone that we typically refer to as stress, but we can also refer to it as this energy and alertness hormone. And again, it does those functions I mentioned earlier. It wakes you up, keeps you alert, keeps you focused, it helps you start your day with energy. And the stress system basically is an engine with 2 gears. Cortisol being one of them. It's the long arc that sets your alertness for the entire day. And adrenaline, it's that quick hit that sharpens you instantly. When these 2 gears fire at the right times, you feel unstoppable. You are driven, you feel like you've got high energy, and nothing can get in your way. And that's what the healthy rhythm should look like. However, when these 2 gears fire at the wrong times, and if they're off even slightly, your whole day feels like you're pushing a car uphill. And this is what this word means. Dyshomeostasis is essentially when your rhythm is off balance. When cortisol should be firing and at its highest, at its peak, at the beginning of the day, you're having those cortisol, those stress spikes later on in the day. And that's not ideal. And in addition to that, what else is happening is it's the fact that your body has to make a choice. It uses the exact same raw material, cholesterol, which is what's used to make hormones, to make both cortisol and other crucial hormones, like testosterone, for example. So when you're under chronic, relentless stress, your body goes into a kind of survival mode. So it prioritizes making cortisol to deal with what it thinks is a threat. So it's essentially stealing the building blocks you need for things like drive, recovery, and just your overall sense of vitality. So with that being understood, let's talk about how lifestyle adds fuel to the fire. But here's the part that no one tells you. It's the fact that your nervous system was never designed for low-grade, endless stress, which is reflective of what the modern lifestyle is. It's back-to-back meetings, it's deadlines, submissions, emails, notifications, the decision fatigue that you face every day, it's late-night screens. It's a constant influx of low-grade markers of stress that is constantly being fed to you throughout the entire day. And in contrast, you can imagine back in primal times where we were being chased down by saber-toothed tigers or wild animals, you'd trigger cortisol and a stress response where you'd have to get the energy to run and evade or maybe even fight predators off. Those would be happenstance. Those would be happening every now and then, every so often. However, the constant drip of stress triggers is not something that the human body is designed to necessarily deal with optimally. And it's that drip stress that destroys that rhythm we just spoke about. Your system stays activated all day long, but with no structured spikes. It's the equivalent of your car engine idling at 4,000 revs for like 12 hours straight. And that's why your engine is broken. And it's a good way of describing it. And it also describes why you're exhausted. And this is where we get locked into a really vicious kind of cycle where the chronic stress rewires your brain to crave those high-fat, sugary comfort foods. Well, why? Because those, for a brief moment, actually blunt the stress response. It reduces the cortisol. And it's a quick fix, but in the long run, they absolutely wreck your metabolism. They disrupt your sleep, and they drain your energy even more, which just makes you that much more vulnerable to stress the next day. The first part is anchoring the spike. It's getting morning sunlight. And this is about controlled stress exposure. Within 30 minutes of waking up, you want to get outside for around 5 to 10 minutes. And the reason why we do this is that sunlight, it signals to the brain to trigger and create cortisol. We want to enable cortisol to hit its peak now. And therefore, your energy spike is happening early at the very beginning of the day and not in the evening. So this is us using stress in the correct fashion in order to work for us. Now, 2 is all about training the stress. So we can build stress resilience here, and those happen through things like cold showers, fast breath work, and short bursts of workouts, like sprints, for example. What these do is that they trigger an adrenaline response, but in a controlled window where you can practice staying calm. So, for example, exposing yourself to a few minutes of a cold shower at the end of a warm to tepid shower, it's fine because you're in a safe environment and you can train yourself to stay calm under that, freezing water first thing in the morning. And that's something that I use every day. It definitely triggers shock for the first thing, but I honestly do start my day a lot better with that cold shower. It teaches your body that the stress is safe, that you can handle this. Like I said, it's building your resilience, but also raising your ceiling for stress, your body's ceiling for stress. So step 3 is about powering down the system. So like I said earlier, the morning's about controlled activation. The evening's more so about deactivation, again in a controlled manner. So you want to enable the conditions for you to wind down with that. That could mean low light, where you dim the lights in the house to create an atmosphere for sleep, slowing your breath. Calming supplements like ashwagandha can also be useful. Again, I wouldn't be taking supplements just for the sake of it, but it's something that I've used personally in the past and cycled, and it's worked for me, but it's something I'd also recommend looking into. But also shutting tech off before bed. You want to ensure that the environment that you're creating for yourself before sleep is less stimulating. It's getting you into a mode of restfulness, so you're not thinking, so your brain's not going in cycles, and allows you to enter deep rest. And that restores that rhythm that drives energy the next day. So now we're looking at how we can map that stress engine. And like the old saying goes, what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. So there are a few tests we can look at, and one of them being a blood panel and DNA test. And that's something that I do with my clients personally, where we look for testosterone, inflammation markers, we look at nutrient deficiencies, and we also look at metabolic function. And we can look at that as your recovery baseline. But if you wanted to go a level deeper, there's also a thing called a saliva cortisol test, and it shows more accurately at a more granular level what the cortisol levels in your body show during a morning spike, during an afternoon slope, an evening crash or spike, and again your overall stress rhythm. So if that is of great concern to you around your cortisol levels and how they fluctuate during the day, a saliva cortisol test is an option, is a very viable option for you. And that saves the guesswork. We want to work using data. We want to have a quantifiable baseline of which we can work across, and not trying to do guesswork. And like I mentioned earlier, there are a few counterintuitive secrets or hacks. I don't like the word hack, but more so insight of how we can use stress in order to better enable our work. We've been told our whole lives that you need to rest so you can have energy for a workout. Well, the biological truth is very far from that. It's actually the complete opposite. Movement itself creates energy. When you exercise, your body releases adrenaline, one of the hormones I spoke about earlier. And that wakes up your brain. It wakes up your entire body and nervous system. It gives you more focus and drive than you had before you even started. So we need to rethink of exercise not being an energy drainer, but itself a energy generator. And that's very crucial. So incorporating exercise, making it a staple of your week, is crucial for you to, again, generate more energy so you can function with higher vitality and high energy levels throughout the day. So that's one very important insight I want you to take away from this. And that brings me to my second insight. So we all chug that large cup of coffee before a big meeting, or a session where we need to ensure that we're focused, right? And it turns out the science shows that it's completely backwards. The key to making information actually stick is to spike your alertness, your adrenaline, immediately after that session is over. So say, for example, you're in a session where to be cognizant of absorbing all that information, retaining all that information, spiking your adrenaline straight after is actually key. Spiking your alertness after. So a quick burst of intense exercise, a cold shower, or anything really that gets your heart pumping is actually the way to go. Because what this does is that it retroactively tells your brain to wake up, pay attention, the information you just learned was important, to save it. So it's an incredible little insight, a nugget that I want to share with you, and it's worth using for learning fast and remembering more. The question to you is, how are you going to use it? All in all, you're not running out of energy. Your stress system is just untrained. And just go back and remind you of the protocol, anchor it in the morning, train it intentionally during the day, and shut it down properly at night. And when you start using stress the way biology designed for your body to use it, you don't just feel more energized, you feel more capable, you have more agency, you're much more focused, and much more command over your body as well. So stress isn't your enemy, it's your engine. And now you know how to drive it. So if you're an executive or a founder or an entrepreneur and you want to rebuild your energy, your health, and your performance with a system that's completely personalized, this is exactly what I do with my clients inside Legacy Health. We take a full spectrum look at your lifestyle, your biology, your stress load, sleep, training, and nutrition, and then build a precision plan around you. So if you want to explore working with me directly, click the Calendly link to book a one-to-one coaching call, and then we can take it from there. Otherwise, see you in the next video.